Good evening. About fucking time, eh? About fucking time, you could say. And I'm not talking about the result. I know we're talking about the show. I know, but listen. What can I say? I've just got in the door. I was getting ready to listen to the show just as much as you. Terry had fell asleep at the bus stop waiting, but I managed to give him a shake. I woke him up, and
I'm here.
He's here. He's here in San Fran Celtic. I saw your comment. The bus is far better without the drivers. It's hard to disagree. But I've taken over the bus. I'm here. It's been a while, but I'm back. We got the link sent eventually, Terry. Well, that was a nightmare. But hey, I don't know if I've done a show with just you, mate. Have I ever done a show with just you?
I don't think so, David. No, I think there's always been somebody else to pull us out of a hole. We're on our own. Well, but we're probably not on our own. Did you say Phil's joining?
I think Phil. I put that backlight out again, and Phil, he's on his way back from Celtic Park, and he said he'll jump on. He'll do a run-in, as he likes to say, and he might be joining us. But we're here now, guys. Quickly, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Slag my face here, slag Bhoycie for not being here. And of course, big shout out to piesports.com. Tasty pasty treats, 12.5% off with the code BUS1888. Terry, I've just finished a mammoth shift at the shop. I'm done for Christmas now. Now I can just relax and talk about what's been going at Celtic, because I've not been on for a while, and it's been a bit lacklustre, as you could say. However, we got the 3 points today, which I was a bit nervy of, but we got the points. It wasn't, I think you could say it was very dominant the first half, but just not quite. You had that cutting edge, few good chances, like Kyogo had one off the line, a couple other chances. Maeda being Maeda, and likes to throw himself over balls rather than putting it in the back of the net. I think it was lack of game time. You know, I'm sure he'll be a bit more sharper quickly. But what's your overall thoughts? You're the main man for post-match pish. I always like to listen to you break down the game. So now I get to be at the front row, front and centre to watch you do your thing, big man. So break the game down for me today.
You've got to remember, I've been standing at the bus stop with a bag of cans here for the last hour. It's funny you say about sort of being nervous about this game. I've never known me to feel the way I have done this week in the build-up to a home game against Livingston. I've been looking forward to it because it took on so much importance because of the last couple of games, because of how we frittered away an advantage at the top of the league table. And I kind of woke up this morning. I kind of had the night's sleep that would usually be reserved for next Saturday, where I woke up nervous, thinking about the match. Woke up really early, started to think, worrying about the opposition. That's probably going to be what normally happens next week. But that's how I felt around Livingston, because this game just took on so much importance. It was top versus bottom. You'd be forgiven for not realising Celtic are still top of the league, but I felt the same as you. I was nervous about this game. I was nervous and I was excited at the same time. But when was the last time you were worried about a game at home to Livingston against the team at the bottom of the league? But it took on that importance. It was of paramount importance, first of all, that we got the 3 points. That was the main thing. But what we were hoping for was a performance that would give us some hope that we've had quite a few times this season, that we were turning a corner. Is this another corner that we've turned today? Don't want to get too carried away. It's Livingston. They're the worst team in the league. They're at the bottom for a reason. They offered absolutely zero. But I thought today was better. I thought the tempo was higher. The intensity was there. And we kept it going for the whole game. It only really dropped off whenever the multiple subs were made around about the 70 mark. But I know the natives were a bit restless at half-time because we hadn't made the breakthrough. But if you just sat and watched that game and analysed that first half was a lot better than what we've been seeing for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And we created enough chances in that first half to win 3 or 4 games. On another day, you'd have been walking off at half-time 4-0, 5-0 up. You touched on the Kyogo one. Kyogo one form buries that. He had so much of the goal to aim at, and he hit it straight into the middle where the goalkeeper and the defender were. Maida, as you say, jumped over the ball when it looked easier to score. Matt O'Reilly, I don't know how he's missed his one. Like, he was about a yard out and he's knocked it out for, I don't even know if it went for a throw in or not.
Good. You keep that up the now, mate. You keep that
chance after chance after chance. On another day they go in. I just hope that other day is next Saturday. But second half came out, got the 2 goals, job done. 2 goals in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the second half, and kept the intensity up, kept creating the chances. On another day we could have had 10. Bit of a drop off when the substitutions were made. Bench looked really, really weak today. When you look at the starting lineup, again, we've got that roulette with the midfielder. Again, it was Bernardo. Again, I didn't see a great deal. People talk about he does a lot of defensive running. I don't really know why that was needed at home to Livingston when they offered 0. But he got the jersey today. Who gets it Tuesday, Saturday next week? No idea. Maida wasn't great, but he is coming back after a long layoff. So excuses for him. Palma looks amazing in 1 minute, looks bang average the next, but 2 more assists, keeps cranking up the numbers. But that bench was weak today. Looking at that bench, I'll read it to you. Quan, Welsh, Bain, Yang, O, Forrest, Ralston, Mikey Johnson and Turnbull. Think back to last season, we talked about how strong our bench looked with Giakoumakis, Aaron Moy. Probably Turnbull would have been there. At times it was O'Reilly. It just felt weak. Luckily, we didn't need anybody to come off the bench to win the game for us today. But we need a big January here. We need some kind of overhaul that gives us reassurances that we've got a first 11 that are capable of getting this league over the line, and at least half that bench that are as good as the guys that are on the park. But overall, I'm happy. I really enjoyed it. I thought with some nice passages of play, you could see there was definite tactics. There was definitely an attempt to try and create chances for Kyogo. And what I mean by that is, as opposed to last week, where we seemed to be throwing high balls into the box, he's never going to win those. Today, the crosses were coming in. They were coming in low. They were fizzing across. Now, not every single one of them was effective, but I think about 80% of the crosses that come in from Yang and Taylor on the left, Maida on the right, Johnson didn't get us forward as much as Taylor, but about 80% of those balls were along the ground, and that was a definite tactic to try and get Kyogo involved. Myself and Bhoycie always talked about that computer game signature goal where you get it to your wide man, he goes to the byline, he cuts it back, and your centre forward scores. We've seen it time after time after time with Kyogo last year, and I think they definitely tried to create that scenario. Taylor probably had one of his better games this season, and he was popping up all over the place. He was inverted in the midfield. He was overlapping. He was underlapping. He was turning up in the box. I think there was definitely a throwback to the point last season where players were happiest and were most effective. But we've been here before, David. We've talked about this where, like I say, we're turning a corner today. Today was good, but what we've learned this season is Tuesday might not be good. Next Saturday might not be good. But hey, I'll take the points today and a very decent performance.
Yeah. Now, before we go any further, hit his music. He's doing a run in. Here is Mr. McGinley. Phil.
Hello.
Phil, my hero, mate.
Hey, mate. Love the talk. Love the talk.
Cheers, guys. One more.
Is that a small you're wearing now?
Not quite. No, I'm not quite at that stage yet. But yeah, I'm getting small clothes these days because I'm
look amazing.
It's going well. It's going well.
But class, mate. You're wearing those Kappa kits soon enough, mate.
No chance, man. That's a long way off. But I'm literally just in the door a few minutes ago. But I don't know exactly what you have discussed totally. But yeah, I'm here now anyway.
I just went off on one there for about 15 minutes on my own.
Terry broke the game down for us there. We were just talking about the chance. It looked like it was clearly a tactic today to try and get something out of Kyogo. Because I think this whole what's happened to Kyogo, I don't think anything's happened to Kyogo. I think the tactics have been a massive part as to why he's not been effective. Like you've said umpteen times here, Terry, the boy will have 10 touches a game. 2 of them will be a goal, maybe even 3. But if he's not putting the ball in the back of the net, you almost forget he's on the pitch. Whereas today, his tail was up today. You could see he was far more. He looked more enthusiastic. His head wasn't dropping at the frustration of people not finding him, or at least seeing the runs. Phil, you were at the game today. You had a good vantage point of the game. Do you agree with me there? Do you believe that Kyogo looked a wee bit more like himself today? Obviously, there is lack of confidence there, and I think Terry touched on it earlier. That chance that was clear off the line, he had the whole net to aim for, and I think that Kyogo, who is filled with confidence, buries that. However, obviously he hadn't scored in 12 appearances there, so he's got that monkey off the back. But certainly he must have been a bit more enthusiastic, knowing that his teammates are trying to find him in areas of the pitch where he would be more comfortable with the ball coming and flying in more at his feet level rather than 6 feet above him.
He did. He looked lively today. There was, however, that the way the game was panning out in the first half, when he did miss that chance, there was that sort of impending sense of, oh no, here we go again. I said last night on the Friday feeling, I said my prediction for the game was it would be a stodgy 0-0 to about the 80-something minutes, and then we'll score a scrappy goal and we'll get a win. I was feeling like it's going to be one of those days. We just can't score here. But when he got his goal, and even when I'm sitting, I couldn't even tell that he had scored it. And there was a genuine fear for a few people around me that this is going to go to VAR, because obviously that ball was going in, the shot initially, and he's at the back post, he's kind of stole it. So there was a wee bit of fear there that, oh no, but there was no VAR review at all. There was none of those like, oh,
they reviewed it on the they did review it on the coverage.
Right, okay. Because in the stadium there was no indication that there was, so that's fair then. That's good.
What you won't have seen from your seat though, Phil, was from the moment he scored, that smile was back on his face again.
Yeah, celebration.
Smile was back on his face again for the rest of the time that he was on the pitch, and you just hope this is the drought over now, and he kicks on. He kicks on from here.
Yeah, he needed it so badly, so badly.
Do you think the fact that Maeda's back, Phil? Do you think the fact that Maeda was back in the starting lineup maybe gave him a little bit more confidence, knowing that this guy always will try and get to the byline, try and get that ball whipped in to the box, like just because I don't feel like he'd been the same since Maeda dropped at the side, and I think we were all I know he's got his deficiencies. Me and Mark go back and forth about it all the time. But I think even Mark could admit that we were missing Maeda's energy and drive to get the ball across to Kyogo. Albeit, I do find it funny, guys, that we've got so many wingers that they all clearly prefer to be on the left-hand side. We'll get on to Yang soon enough. But every single one of the wingers want to play on the left. There's no getting around that.
Yep.
You know, Maeda's, well, there's a debate whether he is a winger, but he clearly does prefer to be on the left. Palmer wants to be on the left. Mickey Johnson wants to be on the left. I think the only player that is more suited on the right-hand side is either injured or got a walking stick. So, you know, obviously we can get onto transfer into January's later on, but even just the fact that, again, Maeda being back in the team, that surely really did give Kyogo that little lift that he's maybe been missing as well, guys.
I'd like to think so. Chopping and changing the team all the time is never going to help anybody in multiple positions, but Kyogo especially. We've talked about the Abada and also having Jota last season, or Maeda, know the consistency there, but it's always been them, but it's been chopped and changed so much this season with the wingers due to injuries and whatnot, players out of form. So yes, hopefully that does, help him get back to, because we need him obviously firing on all cylinders here, especially to get through these games to this January window that we keep pinning our hopes on that the board are going to do something, because they really do. But yeah, right now, he needs to fight for, especially this Rangers game looming in a week's time now. So hopefully he can get another one against Dundee, or another couple against Dundee as well, just to get a bit of a run going here, because he's going to be so vital next week against them.
Well, here, Terry, let's look at this comment here for John. As poor as he has been, we'll say, rather than he is, Kyogo's only 3 goals short of the same time last season. Now, if I remember right, it did feel like there was a bit of a lull between him when he wasn't scoring. But I think it was only like 3 games. Whereas this obviously feels like an eternity because it's been 12. But I mean, there's still plenty of time in the season, Terry, for Kyogo to start racking up the numbers that we know he's capable of.
It's 12 domestic. It's 12 domestic though, but he scored in the Champions League, didn't he? In between.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Yeah. I've obviously looked at just.
And here's the other thing, David. I think let's look for a positive out of this. I don't see him going away now to the Asian thing.
Agreed.
No, that's been brought up a couple of times. It has crossed my mind as well that the lack of form. I mean, he was struggling to get in that Japanese side when he was unstoppable by the looks of it. So, like, if he's not getting picked when he's playing well, then I can't see why the manager's going to pick him.
Does it coincide with the winter break? Because Maeda will probably get called up, even though he's only just back. He'll probably get called up.
I believe the only games that they'll miss will be the St Mirren game at the start of January and probably the Bucky Thistle Cup game, which, famous last words, hopefully not. We should be fine in that one. St Mirren away, though, is a bit of a sticky one.
But I mean, I can't see Kyogo going. Hitati won't be going. Yang possibly and Maeda, but that's probably going to be it. Not Yang, not Yang. I meant Yang will definitely not be gone. There's no chance of Yang going. There's more chance of me going to the Asian Games than Yang.
So let's get back onto the game. So of course, like Terry, you said, like Livingston didn't lay a glove. They had 0 shots. So obviously there was no saves for Hart to flap at today. So obviously we'll give him a pass mark. They only managed to have the ball 23% of the time. So it was clear domination. I think, and Terry, you touched on it earlier. If we take this game into complete isolation, it was a good day at the office. I think just because of what's been at stake, the everything to do with the Green Brigade and the board and Brendan Rodgers' comments. I think there was a big dark cloud over a game that if you were to take it in complete isolation, you wouldn't even be discussing it. Really, it just have been a typical Livingston performance, hard to break down, but our dominance ended up shining through. So hopefully, like you said, we're not going to get carried away. Hopefully that's maybe it's a wee monkey off the back there because they were far better today. There's no getting away from that. There was a bit more of a zip in the ball, but Terry, like you said, that bench, it doesn't fill you with confidence that we can rely on this squad moving forward. Of course, we have the likes of Naroki still not featured. Lagerbielka, we know he's obviously on the way out. A good performance.
You've got to think Miovski could be on the way out too. What's going on there? Like,
I don't get that, mate, because there was at no point that I think he's not good enough. The only reason he was out of the squad was the injury, and of course it's happened to have given Scales the opportunity to show us what he's got, and so far so good. There has been a couple of recently performances that haven't been great, but you could say that about everybody. He's been one of the standouts, and obviously that then makes it more difficult for Naroki to get back in the side. But surely when you've got so many games to play, you can mix it up. Obviously
the bench. The only thing I can think of is that the lad hasn't settled. Both of those guys haven't settled, or whatever they're showing in training, and the manager has made reference, whatever they're showing in training, it's just not what he's looking for. But the concerning part about that is that's 8 million down to Swanee, and even the one that I do think was a Rodgers signing, Nat Phillips, he's not on the bench anymore. We previously thought there was some kind of clause where he had to be at least in the match day squad, but he's been bombed out the last couple of games as well. And I know we're looking forward to this January, and I think there's this narrative within the support. If we can limp our way through these next 3 games, get into this January window, everything will be okay at the end of that January window. But there's absolutely no guarantee that that's going to be the case because, first of all, we don't know if we are going to sign players. The likelihood is we'll sign somewhere between 2 and 4. The most likely thing is we'll ship out about 6, 7, 8. There's a concern that one of those 8 could actually be Matt O'Reilly, which could put us in a worse position coming out of that window. But who's available in January? Can Celtic get them? If they come in, are they going to settle? Are they going to hit the ground running? I cannot subscribe to this. Let's get through to January, sign a few players, and everything will be all right, because there's absolutely no guarantee that will happen. You might not be able to get the players that you want. You might get the players that you want. The players that you want might come in. They might not settle. They might not fit. They might not. It just might not happen for them. I think we need to we need a wee bit of caution around this window, that if we get through to the window and we're still top, everything will be fine. That's definitely not the case. There's there's signings that can come in. If we have a window like we did in Ange's first season, and the guys that come in, 3/4 of them, if we sign 4 players and 3 of them go straight into the team and give us the same impetus that we got from Hitachi, O'Reilly and Maeda in that window, then yeah, we'll be grand. But if we have a window where we bring in 3 or 4 and they turn out to be at the same level as the 8 or 9 we brought in during the summer, then we're in diffs again. It's gonna be a make or break window, but we need to make sure first of all that we'll get through these next 3 games. Today was the start of a 4-game cycle. I don't know. I talked to Bhoycie about this after the Feyenoord game. We were talking about the next 3 games, including the Hearts game, whatever. We're into a new cycle. Today was the first part of 4 games before the window, or before the winter break. So today's job done. I thought today was the perfect fixture. It's exactly what we needed. We still had to turn up and do it, and we did, and it was convincing. And I'm pleased tonight. Tuesday, I'm concerned, may not happen. The Dundee game. They were called off today for waterlogged pitch. Today's Saturday. There's rain forecast for Sunday and Monday in Dundee. If that pitch is waterlogged on Saturday and there's more rain to come, Tuesday's game is probably 50-50 at this point. If it happens, it's going to be an absolute bog. So it might actually be in our favour if it does get called off. Then we're into that game next week, and as bad as Celtic have been over the last couple of games, I don't see us losing that game next Saturday. That might just be blind loyalty and things like that. I don't see us losing that game. We'll have to be better than we have been over the last 3 or 4 weeks. But I just think when we went into that last Glasgow derby, we weren't at our flowing best, and the manager found a way to get it. And I know last week I was emotional and angry and talking about Terminato. But I have listened to a lot of the people on the podcasts over the week in between. And when you think about if he was to go, realistically, who could we bring in? And what could that person do with this same squad of players? You start to look at it a little bit differently, Phil. So yes, you've got the best man for the job. I couldn't sit here and go, if Rodgers was to be gone today or tomorrow, who do I think Celtic would actually get? And could he get a tune out of these same players? And I'm not sure that anyone that would be within our range would be able to get a better tune out of what we've got at the moment. But Tuesday may or may not happen. I think it might actually be a good thing if the pitch isn't playable, because that gives us a full week to prepare for the game next Saturday. It means we're maybe not playing on a pitch that's very, very dodgy, which then becomes a bit of an equaliser. So Tuesday being off probably would suit Celtic. And then going into next week, if we come out of that game with the 3 points next week, all of a sudden the narrative changes from Celtic in crisis to Celtic back in the driving seat again. And then we go into January again from a position of strength, but obviously not the same position of strength that we were in 6 weeks ago when we were 8 or 9 clear. But we go into January, and if we can bring in the quality and still have a bit of an advantage, then you hope that we can get the job done from there.
Yes.
No,
you go.
I was just going to say, like, my concern with the January window is, and it was mentioned in the chat earlier, like this, and I think you actually said it as well, Terry, is like this might not be the players that we bring in, might not be the players that we necessarily want or need right now. And my concern is it's going to be a plaster over a gaping wound, and we can't let that happen. Like there's talks of this. What's this boy at Wolves? Is it Silva?
See, that's concerning, David. That's concerning. We've done this before, where we've taken EPL players on loan to try and get us through to the end of the season. But that's not really. That's just a short term, as you say, a short term sticky plaster approach. That's not planning for Celtic next season, the season after, or Celtic down the line. That's trying to just find a way to limp through to the end of the season and hopefully get the job done. The prize is too important. This time round, the biggest Champions League ticket of all time is available, and that we've got to go all out in January. We can't be going for that approach where we're going for a loan signing of some guy that has been brought in at an EPL team, hasn't done anything.
Garbage, Terry.
Eh?
He's garbage. He's garbage. He's garbage, that boy. Yeah, like he's
But
not.
You seen when Rangers brought in the guy that Man United paid nearly 40 million for. He wasn't even able to play in the SPL. Do you know what I mean? Just because somebody's cost 35, 40 million, that doesn't mean he's any better than what we've got. That just means somebody down south has paid that money for him. Do you know what I mean? I don't like these short term, unless it's somebody like Bellamy, who was an absolutely amazing signing, and probably only Martin O'Neill could have pulled that off. Unless it's somebody like that. And we're never going to get players like that again, because Bellamy was a top EPL player whenever we were able to bring him in. Yeah. And we just couldn't do that now. But the names that are being bandied about probably aren't the most exciting, to be honest. And I just think we need a wee bit of caution around this. We could come out of this window with roughly what we've got now. We could be minus O'Reilly and maybe a couple of players who might do a job for us. I don't know.
Yeah, see, the thing is, Phil, I'm looking at Silva's goal scoring record now. He signed for Porto for 35 million euros, simply because he's Portuguese, and Wolves just seem to, love a Portuguese.
A George Mendes link, yep.
Now, he'd only scored 3 goals in 21 appearances for Porto before he moved to Wolves. So some effort for his agent, but he has played 72 games for Wolves, and he has scored 5 goals, and he's had 6 assists. I think he went the entire season without scoring a goal. Now he's been out on loan to Anderlecht, 11 goals and 32 appearances for them. But I mean, he's not the striker that I think that fits this mould that we're all saying that we could kind of like that Brendan likes. He's quite. I mean, he's tall. I think he's quite a tall player. He's quite a gangly looking kind of player. He's not got that physical presence about him. I think he's quite lightweight, and I think he will struggle in a physical league like ours. And like you said, like Terry said, like it doesn't fill you with confidence. As soon as I seen his name, I thought, please God, no, that's not who we want. Now I know there's obviously the links as well with Miovski. Whether that comes to fruition, I'm not sure. I would certainly. I'm not saying I would hang my hat on him carrying us through the league and changing the landscape of the league table by bringing Miovski in, but I certainly would have more faith in him scoring goals in our league than an unknown. Well, I say an unknown quantity. We've seen what he's doing in the Premier League, and that doesn't necessarily mean if he'll come up here banging goals. What's your thoughts? Is this January transfer window filling you with any hope that Celtic can turn this season? I'm not panicking yet, by the way. There's a lot of panic stations, I think, going across, just because I think we've chucked it. We've chucked this lead. I certainly wouldn't want to be panicking yet, but is this panic stations from the Celtic boardroom and backroom staff by looking at players like Fabian Silva on short-term deals?
It does have a bit of that about it, a bit of desperation going on. I think Mark said in the chat something about them. We must have some kind of agent that we're speaking to now who's connected to Portuguese players, because obviously there was a Jota one and then Paulo Bernardo. Apparently, we were obviously looking at that Podence, who obviously plays for Wolves back in the summer. That never came to fruition, and now we've moved on to another Portuguese player at Wolves. So it's like, is there an agent
21 Portuguese international as well? He's quite frequently in the under 21 side. Read into that what you will, Phil.
Okay. Well, the goal record for me, you know, just reading that, I mean, we Celtic fans were quick enough to laugh at them across the city when they signed Sam Lammers, who had a horrendous goal record, and he's turned out to be terrible. You'll be hard-pressed to find a Rangers fan that actually does think he is good. So it's like, if we can point out that record's bad, that player's bad, then surely we must look at Silva and go, well, that's a similar type of record you're talking there. Although I don't think Lammers had a £35 million transfer somewhere along the way. As you say, that's probably an agent worked a miracle there on that one. For me, looking at that record, no, it doesn't really fill me with much confidence. It just sounds like a guy that Wolves have made a mistake on. They're just trying to get him off their books. It's that old mentality. If he comes up to Scotland, you know, he'll probably smash it. But again, that's not always how it works. Just ask Joey Barton, for instance, when he was supposed to come up here and smash it. That didn't work out. Don't ask him anything right now. Actually, good point. Don't speak to him at all. But Miovski, I would still be quite happy to see Miovski come in, because I think he would do all right for us. I really am convinced that he would score goals in this Celtic team, and especially when we're scoring goals already for a pretty poor Aberdeen side. Let's be honest. Aberdeen have not been great over the last 2 years that he's been there, but he has been a decent striker for them. I think, you know, with us having more of the ball and making chances, I think, you know, he'll score a decent amount of goals for us. I would rather hang my hat on him. With Terry Sedell at the bench, you know, you'd rather look at the bench today and see somebody like Miovski there than somebody like O and Yang and all that, who are just really raw at the moment, and you just don't know what you're going to get out of them. But I think with Miovski, I think he would be a good signing. But Silva, let's see, I look at that record and I can draw so many comparisons to similar players who've got a similar record and they've turned out to be rubbish. So Silva doesn't fill me with confidence.
I'm starting to warm a wee bit. To the idea of Miovski. I was probably a bit dismissive whenever the rumours first started, because I'm probably thinking I want better than that. But from that point, I think he scored every goal Aberdeen have scored between then and now. And I've got this sort of scenario in my head where Shankland goes to Rangers and Miovski goes to Celtic, and both sides have kind of gone, right, you know what, let's take who we perceive to be the best striker outside of our own clubs. There's always that niggling thing as well, where it could be the other way around. You could have that Scott Brown, Kevin Thompson window where Thompson was meant to go to Celtic, Brown was meant to go to Rangers. Everybody was expecting that to happen, and then they flipped. Could you see us coming out in January? We've got Shankland and they've got Meowski. Probably not, but I think it'll be interesting to see. I'd be very surprised if both Shankland and Miovski are with the clubs that they're with now come the end of the January window. But that's one to keep an eye on, and I'm not as dismissive of Miovski as I was. The other thing I would say, though, about the lad from Wolves, if Celtic were linked with Odsonne Edouard now, and you looked at his scoring record from when he's went to Crystal Palace, you probably would go, what are we looking at him for? So it probably is worth just putting into context that this lad is playing
that's true. That's very
at
true.
a higher level than what he would be facing if he came up here.
So I'll put it back to you then, Terry, because I've said this, I think. I don't know if I've said it on air, but I've definitely said it in the chat when there was a bit of debate about the Miovski thing. And there's two things I want to say about Miovski. Firstly, I had an Aberdeen fan in my chair yesterday, and I mentioned that obviously I was like, what's your thoughts on Miovski? Are you worried he'll leave? And if he does leave and come to Celtic, you reckon he would do well? First thing he said was, you know, what'll be. So I was like, cool, fair enough answer. He's like, however, he went, last year, because obviously he's getting a lot of plaudits for his goal scoring this season. He says last season when Duke was getting a lot of praise, a lot of the assists, and the reason he was getting so many goals was because of Miovski's build-up play, hold-up play, and he actually provided a lot of the assists. He says, so he's not just going to score you goals. And he was like, Duke got a lot of the plaudits because he was a kind of flair player and he was putting the ball in the back of the net, but he says that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Miovski. So, and that's from an Aberdeen fan. What I was going to say on Miovski was, now, if O had the exact same goal scoring record that Miovski has this season, there'd be some fans in our support that'd be saying that he's a £20 million striker. So, like, you know, when you look at the stats that he scored, and if he was scoring them for Celtic, I certainly don't think anybody would. I think people would be putting a much higher price tag on the £4 million that apparently Aberdeen want whether that's just because we're Celtic fans and we're mental and we're like 25 million at least, or 40 million Connor wants for big sexy Matt O'Reilly. But I think that's a completely different other conversation. So what I was going to ask you guys is now let's say we do go for Miovski. Does the price tag worry you? Does the price tag put you off in the slightest? I think they want in the region of 4 million is what they're asking for. There's a lot of people that wouldn't pay it. I kind of go, I think I would, but then I'm like, I don't. It's a difficult one because I can see both sides of the argument with fans. You know, Bhoycie has made it quite clear. You know, 4 million in today's market, isn't he? You know, that is the new 2 million. If you want a half decent striker from our league, you could argue. So you're still thinking that's £4 million on an Aberdeen striker. I think I'd pay it. If I had to pull the trigger, I think I'd pay it. If I'm being honest.
I think we've been conditioned, David. I'll go first, Phil. I'll keep it really brief. I think we've been conditioned that to pay that kind of money for someone from an SPL team, they have to be an absolute complete standout, like Brown was at Hibs that time. But Bhoycie's totally right. In this day and age, 4 million's absolutely nothing. But we've kind of almost become snobs, and this is where I was on the Miovski thing, because we were talking about possibly about 5 million being needed, and I'm going, well, surely we could go somewhere else and get someone for that 5 million. However, this guy is completely proven in the SPL, and that kind of money, I said earlier, we've wasted 8 million, it would seem, on 2 centre backs and a ridiculous wage agreement for another centre back. None of 3 who were even on our bench today. So it's peanuts in today's market, and you're getting someone who you know can absolutely bang them in at this level. Don't know what you think, Phil.
I agree. I would pay the 4 million on it. I think in the Celtic board's case, if you walk around a big sign saying "We are rich," you should not be shocked when a team says, "Okay, then show us the money," because we have been quite, loud in sort of saying that we've got lots of money with the AGM and stuff like that, spreadsheet CSC. So Celtic should not be shocked that Aberdeen are looking for the best deal they can get. I think I've said on a show recently talking about Miovski, where it was like, he's from a country that in the football world isn't seen as a fashionable one, North Macedonia, but the football landscape is changing. Teams that weren't fashionable 10, 15 years ago, there is talent coming through at some of these different through these different nations. I noticed that like Albania won their European Championship qualifying group. They actually topped their group. So there is countries out there that, 15 years ago, the idea of signing a player from there didn't sound that attractive. But Miovski, North Macedonia have been to our Euros recently. They knocked Italy out of the World Cup qualifiers for 2022. And I believe he was playing as their main centre-forward in their recent qualifying campaign up against Italy and England. So he's getting games at that level. So I think he's definitely worth a go. I say 4 million's nothing. It's been pointed out as well with the money that's on the line this season. I think we can afford to take the drop in it. And I say the Celtic board cannot act offended when they walk around saying, yeah, we've got all this money, guys. Well, obviously, if you advertise it, teams are quite rightly going to say, well, show us the money, Celtic. So I would pay it. I would bring him in for that, because, again, you know what you're getting with him.
How do we look into the deal that Aberdeen got for Miovski? Now, he was playing in Hungary alongside another. I don't know if it was the same player, another player from that team that Aberdeen signed alongside him. But the rules in that league are, if you get relegated, you have to sell your top asset players. It's like a rule, and that's why he went for so cheap. Aberdeen ended up paying I think it was just him and another player for still less than $1 million. And he had a very proven goal scoring record for that side. I wouldn't go as far as saying it Giacomakis-esque. However, he was scoring a lot of goals for a side that ended up being relegated, but because of their transfer policy and rules and relegation, it obviously, I guess it's an unfashionable league to look at. Aberdeen chose to look there and found this guy that was banging in the goals that was available for a fraction of the cost that he might have been if he was playing for a club that were further up the table. So you've got a guy that's a proven goal scorer in the Hungarian league. He's an international striker who bangs in the goals for them. He's done it at under 21 levels, at under 20 level, and obviously he's doing it at full international level. He was trusted to lead the line against England. Didn't go so well for him, but we'll give him a pass, Mark, with that one. But so we're talking about a proven international striker who's banging in goals in the Scottish League, and like I keep saying, if we have this international striker that's scoring goals like that in our team in the same league, we certainly would be wanting more than 4 million from him. So I can't argue.
He scored a few in Europe this season, didn't he, as well?
Yes, he did. Yeah, I think he was a standard in the Conference League for Aberdeen. So again, you've got. It's hard to argue Aberdeen. And
what age is he, lads? What age is
24?
24. That's a good age. That's a good age too.
Yeah, I think he's just done 25. I think Tony.
That's a good age. You're just coming into your best years.
Would he fight for the jersey, Terry? Would he give Kyogo a run for his money for that jersey? I think in this side,
I don't know because I only see Aberdeen when they're playing against Celtic, to be honest. And even the games that he's been scoring in, I know he's been scoring, but I haven't been watching the games to really know an awful lot about him. But his record does speak for itself, and it's not just been SPL. He has been able to do it in European competition. He has done it at international level as well. Question, and I think I know the answer that both of you will give me. Forget about fees. You can sign one of Miovski or Shankland. Which one would you take in this window?
Miovski. I would take Miovski.
Miovski.
I thought that.
I was shocked to learn that Shankland's 29. I didn't even realise that. As I call it Jesse Lingard syndrome, a player that everyone talks about. They still think he's young, but he's actually been around for ages. But yeah. That's what it is. I can't believe he was 29. I was like, so 24, 25, Miovski. I would go that one.
Shankland's at his peak right now. Miovski's
he's got a purple patch just now. And I had a Rangers fan in my chair the day, and we were talking about. I was like, it looks like Shankland's going to you guys. He went, I'd rather Miovski. And I was like, honestly, are you honestly? He's like, aye. He's like, don't get me wrong, he's banging in plenty of goals, but it was like, so's Miovski, and you're getting a much younger striker there with sell on. If you want to go down that road, though, it's a possible sell on fee. I don't personally give a fuck about what the sell on fee is going to be.
No, but if he came to Celtic and kicked on again, then you do. If he signed for Celtic for 4 million, 5 million quid, and he did a job and he kicked on, then all of a sudden, by the time he gets to age 27, 28, you could still be talking 10, 12. You could still be talking making profit on him. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
I can see why Rangers want him because he does put a few penalties away. So I mean, I can see why they want him.
I mean, they only need one penalty taker. Look, I'll probably get to the stage now where they need two in the team because they're getting that many.
Yeah.
I'm too tired to take another one. Go you.
Maybe we should get Shankland then because we need a penalty taker. We need somebody for fuck's sake. Right, so let's try and jump back. I mean, this is what we do on post-match pish. We talk about the game for 5 minutes and then we just but that's fine. That's what you should tune in for. But let's quickly go back to the game. Of course, the other goal scorer today was Liam Scales. Great header. You know what I liked about that goal? It just came from a direct corner.
I was about to say sarcastically, because it was from a corner. It was, yes.
It was a fucking corner. Hey, look, there was none of this pissing about. Just get in the box.
A brilliant glancing header. Keeper had no chance. Yep.
Phil, you probably won't have seen it. You probably won't have seen it on the video, but it actually is a really, really impressive header because it is behind him, and you can see he's really had to put some movement into his neck to get it on target. It's a really, really impressive header. When you see it live, you don't really appreciate it, but when you see it slowed down from the replay, he has to do a lot of work to get that into the net. And absolutely delighted. That Scales' his first goal of the season. There could be more, Terry. There could be more. I feel that there's definitely more. Yeah, he is a threat. He's a threat. And if you remember back, I don't think it was last season. I think it might have been the one before. Ange's first season where he scored a belter from outside the box against Dundee United. I think he does have goals in his game. there's still part of me would love to see him playing at left back, to be honest, and getting forward down that left hand side. I'd like to explore that a wee bit at some point. But something about Scales that I kind of said to Bhoycie a few weeks ago. I wonder, have we been judging Scales differently because he came in as a £650,000 player from Shamrock Rovers, and we want the Irish lad to do well? Are we giving him almost a free pass compared to a £3 million Lagerbelga or a £4 million Miovski? Are we judging Scales differently? Is he just playing okay, but because of who he is, where he's from, how much he cost, we're then dressing that up as he's really playing well? But from that point, I actually think he definitely is in there on merit. And regardless of how much we paid for him or anyone else, he has seen those other guys off. He has seen off Nat Phillips. He's seen off the two guys that are obviously misfits. He's seen off Stephen Welsh, who's been in and around the Celtic first team for the last 5 or 6 years. Yeah. He is genuinely in there on merit now. Do I think he can do better? Absolutely. Do I want us to get a better centre-back than Liam Scales? Yes, I absolutely do. But he genuinely is in there on merit. And that was a really, really good goal. When you see it back, Phil, when you see the action that he had to take to get that on target. And again, thinking a week ahead, you're going into a game where sometimes set pieces are crucial. It just gives everybody a little bit of confidence if you've scored from a set piece, which isn't something Celtic have any great track record of doing in the last 10 years, where a corner seems to be a waste of time, for example. But it's not often we score direct from a corner, so it's good to get one of those.
It's interesting as well, that run that he made for the goal, that near post run, looking for the glancing header, he does that quite a lot. I've noticed it at Celtic Park a few times when I go to the games, because it's one of these things that goes unnoticed because we don't score many corners. So if we don't score it, you don't really take note. But I have noticed Scales from time to time, he always makes that run, and sometimes he will get his head on it, but today it was absolutely perfect. That glancing header he got was fantastic. But it's interesting because, again, conflicting reports. I've heard stories that at Livingston, they don't practice any set piece stuff, but they must be doing something. To say, I've seen Liam Scales making that run a few times at corners, looking for that type of header. But yeah, today it came off for him, and it was fantastic. And the keeper, it was already past the keeper before he had a chance to even react. Essentially, it was that quick. How well he got the connection on that. But yeah, just delighted for his score. But unfortunately, I think that's probably used up a quota of corner goals for another 19 games or something. Who knows when the next one will come along? Hopefully we can make it a regular thing, because Carter Vickers nearly scored one as well today. 2 in the same game, could it have been? But no, it was a good save from the keeper in the end.
Phil, just a quick one. What did you make of Bernardo today, and Bernardo from his sign? Because I think he's been completely underwhelming. Now, don't get me wrong, I think because of the Jota success story coming in from Benfica, people have been wanting the same kind of impact. He's not that kind of player. And I know that a lot of the people who are in his corner are sort of saying he's a great defensive player. But I honestly haven't seen anything that makes me think I've any interest in signing this guy whatsoever. And today was a great opportunity. And don't get me wrong, he was neat and tidy. But if you're bringing in somebody that's on the fringes of the Benfica first team, you're expecting neat and tidy. What I want is somebody to go and take the game by the scruff of the neck, and with a chance to score. And I think a goal would have done him the world of good today. He had a good chance to score, and it just didn't fall quite right for him. But what do you make of him? Do you think he stays in for next Saturday?
This is a bit of musical chairs right now for that midfield position because of the Tati injury. At the moment, I would probably lean towards Bernardo, but going on what you're saying, Terry, and I agree. I describe him, ironically, as nondescript because I can't tell you what stands out about him. Sometimes midfielders can be like that, where they go unnoticed, but they're actually doing a really good job. But I can't define what it is about Bernardo that's, what's good to his game, because, it just feels like he doesn't do anything that stand out. He was okay today. He was steady enough. But, you do need a player that is going to kind of take, the game by the scruff of the neck, especially in that part of the park. It's so vital in the middle. Right now, I think Marc Cairney's put this question forward a few times. If Celtic were given the option tomorrow to sign him, how many Celtic fans would actually say, oh yeah, definitely sign him? I don't think any would. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find one that would actually say, oh yeah, we need to sign him right away. Because he's just nothing has really stood out about him yet. He's just a very steady player right now, nothing outstanding. Is how I would define him. Is he the front runner for next week? Possibly. I'd rather him than David Turnbull because we need to be moving the ball a bit quicker. And David Turnbull for me is too slow.
If Bernardo plays, could you see him having a really impacting moment in the game? I think the answer would be no. Could you see Turnbull having a moment in the game that is impacting? I actually could. I could see Turnbull scoring if he played.
Well, he does enjoy a shot from outside the area, so you just never know. He's one of the few ones that actually does have a pop. Yeah, I suppose there is that. I mean, next week, again, me personally, I'm leaning towards Bernardo, but I wouldn't be shocked if Turnbull's name is on the team sheet next week against Rangers. It wouldn't surprise me with the way his season's went so far, which makes it even more baffling. He's out of contract at the end of the season. And yeah, he's still getting game time, but I'm not the manager, obviously, so what do I know?
Bernardo's going to score his first goal next Saturday, what you say now?
That's it.
From what I've been hearing today, is they've only got one fit first choice midfielder. Whether that plays into our decision making on who we start. But I tell you, it's a difficult one because it's like this guy seemed to be the first name on the team sheet against Lazio and Feyenoord and Atletico Madrid, yet we can't trust him to play against, St Mirren away, Hibs. It's like, and we both asked the same question on a Sunday. I laughed because it was like, it's like, is there some mental thing in his contract to say now we want him to be playing European football? That's part of the deal. I mean, surely you couldn't see Celtic agreeing to that. Like another club dictating who plays in their most important games of the season. Well, one of the highest profile games in the season, we'll say. I would say I would send them back after January. If it wasn't for the fact that we had so many injuries, I think we'd already be. I think it'd be very much like what's his name for last season? Boy, we got for Russia.
Abelgard.
Abelgard. I think he's a Portuguese Abelgard.
Well, here he hasn't made any better impact than either Abelgard or Jens, and they were both sent back in January. Do you know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Turnbull that starts next week because you can't look at that starting 11 and say, well, that'll be the exact starting 11 the following week and the week after that and the week after that. It's changed that often. It's funny, I keep going through the emotions with this game coming up because it's like 1 minute I'm like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare, and then when I take a step back and I go, they're not playing brilliantly. They're riddled with injuries. They're riding on a crest of a wave of the new manager. There's no doubt about it. He's done well to get the results that he has with the options that he's got. But there's this narrative certainly on their side that he's come in and he's just changed everything at Rangers and they're playing brilliant football and they've clawed back this league. When in reality we've handed them this opportunity. I don't feel it's been Rangers that have done brilliantly to close the gap. I feel Celtic have just taken their complete eye off the ball, and that's the reality of it. We take a step back and you look at the situation. And Terry, you mentioned it earlier. I think we were all very, very worried about that game at Ibrox, and after the game, we all kind of went, "What we all worried about?" No, I'm not going to sit here and say that's going to be the exact same situation. No matter how well we're playing or how badly we're playing or how badly they're playing or how well they're playing, no matter what, I will always have that match nerves. I think everyone will. But I've just got this little feeling that we might have what we're worried about kind of feeling after the game. Let's quickly talk about the atmosphere in the stadium today, Phil. Before we shoot off. The Green Brigade obviously made their return to the stadium today loud in colour and in voice, as they always are. Do you think the players? I think there's going to be a narrative out there, certainly with some fans that are saying, "Well, that was because the Green Brigade were back today." What's your view on that? Like, there's no doubt about it. Them being back in the ground will certainly lifted the atmosphere.
But
does that affect the players? Do you think? Do you think the players really notice a difference if like your ultras are in or and not and aren't in the stadium? Do you think that's been a part of the blip, or do you just think that's just been a little ingredient mixed in with a huge recipe of a disaster that we've had in the last couple of weeks?
Definitely the latter. It's not the sole reason why there's been problems. I mean, we dropped points early in the season when the Green Brigade were in the stadium. We drew with St Johnstone, so it's not necessarily all the problems, but it will fix a lot of it. I was pleasantly surprised today, though, of one element where I fully expect, I mentioned it last night on the Friday show, where I was like, I think the board are going to get it tight tomorrow. I expected a lot of anger displayed towards them, maybe like a banner, a few chants. There was none of that. I also questioned last night, will we see the opposite? Will the Green Brigade basically stick two fingers up to the board and say, oh, now you need us to make noise? Well, guess what? We're not going to make any noise for 90 minutes. They didn't at all. No, they came in and they just got behind the team and just kept it all about that. And it was good. It was good to have them back from that aspect because, yeah, it has been dead. You're talking about, do the players get affected by it? See, when in the last few games that we've been at, where it's like it's just dead in the stadium, and the players can basically hear individual fans insulting them from the sidelines at how bad they're playing. I've got to imagine it must register with them from time to time. I mean, you had the moments last week against Hearts where Joe Hart was getting sarcastically cheered by the Celtic fans when he managed to actually catch a ball. You know, these are all things that these players will definitely notice. They can try and brush it off, but no, when you're out in that park, you will pick up on these things. So the atmosphere picking up will definitely help them. But I say it's not the full problem. That's not going to affect totally what's on the park. Again, there's only a few people that can sort that. And again, we keep coming back to this January window. They've got to get it right. They've got to do something. And whether they do, they're playing with fire if they don't. Because you're right to say that, David. We have handed the initiative back to them and gave them a lifeline here that they have no right to have at one point. But we're not 11 points in front, albeit they might have had a game in hand or something. And it's like, now we find ourselves in this position. So it's like, man, we cannot afford many more mistakes now. We need to get it right in the next few weeks. The Green Brigade coming back is the first step to at least starting to amend some things, I think, to get a bit of an atmosphere going. Because, yeah, the last few games at home were just turgid to sit through.
Terry, I want to ask you about what your thoughts were on Clement's comments the other day. Obviously, he's feeling his chest puffed out. He's beating his chest. He's picked up his first trophy of the season, and we've all said, you know, that first trophy of the season, you know, it might not be the most interesting and most exciting trophy to win. Nevertheless, it's a trophy, and it can then push on and get the team rolling into going on to win the league. You know, that we've said it umpteen times and we've done it. That's how he's feeling. But his comments, he come out swinging the other day. You know, he's getting a bit cocky. You might want to say he's put in the fight and talk. Is that gonna light the fire under Brendan? Is that going to bring the Brendan that we want back? Is that going to help motivate? I mean, it shouldn't need that. However, do you think it will? I
think what we're looking at now is the first time in Brendan Rodgers' Celtic manager career that he's been challenged, because the last time he was here, he won 7 out of 7. But there wasn't any real challenge. Let's be honest, there wasn't any real challenge. Any of us three could have managed that team and still got those 7 trophies out of 7. This is the first time now there's been a challenge thrown at him, and as you say, it shouldn't require that for him to be up for it. But if he's not up for this challenge now, after this guy coming in and making the impact that he has done, and he's got a reaction, and he's been able to get a set of results, a sequence of results that Mickey Beale wasn't able to get. And I see his Sunderland career got off to a great start today. Which
I was going to bring that up. There was a 3-0 they lost to
3-0 to Coventry. Yep.
But Brendan he's got to be sitting there. Even tonight, everything, talking about, I haven't lost a league in this country. I am not going to lose a league in this country. This guy's come in, he's got a reaction, fair play to him. Surely to goodness Rodgers is up for this. And I know that Chris Sutton has got some column space this week, and he's talked about Celtic going through the motions, the players going through the motions, the manager going through the motions. Surely to goodness Brendan's up for this. He has to be. Now, don't get me wrong, I talked last week and I absolutely blasted him last week. He was standing there with his hands in his pockets and his head down, and he was chewing his gum. There was still bits of that today, to be honest. But aside, it was an awful day today, Phil. You were at the game. It was an awful day. There was wind, there was rain. It wasn't great. So I will forgive him for having his hands in his pockets and having his big coat on and everything else. But he's got to be up for this. He has got to look himself in the mirror and say, I'm up for this. And if he is the manager that we think he is, and that lots of football supporters think that Brendan Rodgers is, then he's got to meet this head on. He's got to sort this out. And I genuinely think by whoever's top of this league at the end of January, and I know there's a window in between, but whoever goes into the second part of this season in front, for me, wins it. I genuinely think these next 3 games, the January window, whoever's top at the end of that January, going into February, I think goes on to win the league.
Terry, I listened to your comments last week, and I remember sitting in the car and totally agreeing with you. Now, I know that we tried to disagree on this.
There was a lot of emotion.
No, but listen, so I had a theory on it, and I did say it in the group chat, and I've not had a chance to say it on here, and I think Phil will agree with me with this. Now, the way and you described it perfectly, like with his hands in his pockets. Normally you'd see him hands, whistles, all the movements, his notepad, everything's out.
Sorting everything out, tactics, all these things. You're going.
Yep.
He's pretending they've worked and stuff during the week and all here.
So I look back and it reminds me of when Jose Mourinho was at Man United, and then he was at Tottenham, and even his second spell at Chelsea, he wasn't a special one. He looked like a guy that had completely fell out of love with football, and it was almost like he just couldn't be bothered. And obviously, he was still grinding out good results, winning trophies with Man United, albeit not the kind of people that they liked. Got Tottenham to a final and obviously let him go before he had the chance to win it. But even like these media press conferences after the games is in-game management, watching on the touchline. It didn't. I'm like, that's not the Jose Mourinho that we all remember. It's like he fell out of love with the game. He was tired and he needed to go and have a break away from football, and he did. And now you've got this. You've got classic vintage Jose back with all the comments and the shithousery and the swagger and all the just everything that people remember about Jose Mourinho. And I was concerned that we had that version of Jose and Brendan back. A guy that had, he'd done very well with us the first time. He went down to Leicester. He gets 2 top, misses out in top 4 finishes 2 years in a row, wins an FA Cup, and then it all just starts to go a bit peak tong. He has a Leicester board that won't spend money, and then obviously he loses his job. And he said, like he was going to take a break out of football, probably because he needs it. He's almost become a bit of a meme down there, a bit of a gif, a bit of a joke. And the only reason he's still in football right this very second is because it was Celtic. And then that's not the Brendan Rodgers that we would need. We don't need a tired, broken Brendan Rodgers that's fell out of love with football just now. We need a Brendan maybe to be our special one almost. And that's so I'm just a bit concerned that we don't have it. I mean, you were saying that last week. I'm going, this is the Jose that we've got this Brendan. And we need the special one version of Brendan that we had. Yeah. I'm just hoping that you say, Terry, and he shouldn't need it, but he might just have to have it, as those comments ignite that fire and we go, right, game on. I've got a challenge now. Game on. Phil, do you get where I'm coming from here? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I definitely do. It's No, you're right in what you're saying. There has been moments where you felt that body language can say a lot. It really can when you actually look at it on the sidelines. The best comparison I can draw it to of a Celtic manager I've watched over the years is when Tony Mowbray just stood on the sideline most of the time. He was notorious for it, standing there, hands in his pockets, just kind of no looking legend. But the manager before him was Strachan, who was always animated. The manager that followed him was Lenny, who was always animated. And it's like you can see a difference, when you're trying to influence things on the sidelines. You can't be on the park to do it, but you can influence it. But Tony Mowbray always looked like he was defeated and dejected and didn't have an idea. And Brendan this season at times has looked like that. And it's like, oh no, don't tell me there's a 4-0 at St Mirren just around the corner. That would be like just bringing back too many bad memories. But yeah, there's times I've looked at Brendan this season and went, that's what it reminds me of, Tony Mowbray.
I'm glad you said that, Phil, because I've been thinking that for a few weeks now. And Mugga was one of my favourite players when he played for Celtic. I just loved his when he was playing centre half. He wasn't the most talented on the ball, but he was tough and he was rugged, and he put his head in where other people put their feet in. Yeah. But the absolute opposite, a wee bit. Him and John Hughes were both that kind of centre half that cleared their lines, rose ed. You couldn't score from rose ed, but whenever they managed teams, they actually wanted their teams to play attractive football, and they wanted their centre backs to play out, which was totally the opposite of what they were like as players, which I find quite ironic. But when Mugga came in, he'd done this job at Hibs where he'd got Hibs playing absolutely brilliant football, and they were competitive in games and were great to watch. Then he came into Celtic, and you were just expecting it to continue on, and it didn't. It just didn't work out for him. But every time the camera cut to him, he was just standing there and the hands were in the pockets and the head was down. And that's just what I've seen from Rodgers during this period where we're just starting to struggle. We need a wee bit of inspiration. We need the man on the sideline to make the difference for us. And he's just cut a wee bit of a passive figure. And it might just take something from the manager at Rangers getting a little bit cocky, getting a little bit above his station. It might just take something like that just to light the spark, to ignite Brendan, to sort of get into the gear that we want him to be in and expect him to be in. And I do think he's maybe, because of the way he just cleaned up everything last time round, has he come in and just thought, all I have to do is be here and turn up every day and I'll win everything? Has he come in with that mindset? Has he been blinkered to the fact that this actually might be a little bit more difficult now than it was the previous time round? I don't know.
Well, I think we'll round that up. We've been on for an hour and 8 minutes, and obviously we had you guys.
Still no sign of Bhoycie, by the way.
I think he's asleep.
I hope he's all right.
He'll be fine. Now, what day is it today? I'm all fucked up with my days.
Saturday, mate.
It's Saturday, right? Thank you. Right, so if I'm being honest, I don't think there's going to be a Sunday Blether. So that'll be three weeks now, right? Okay.
I'm
sure you'll all live. You all need a bit of a break for the Sunday.
There won't be a Monday either.
Nah.
Yeah, no Monday club this Monday. It's Christmas Day.
There might be a Tuesday if Dundee can get the pitch on.
Oh yes, of course, aye.
Yeah. So you're right. So obviously, don't miss us too much. But guys, it's been a pleasure. I do apologise for the late bus, but look, bosses, they always do come around, and we did. So Phil, thanks for jumping in. Terry, as always, the man behind the P.M.P.
Cheers, enjoyed it.
It was class to get on with. It's been a very long time. I hope everyone enjoys their Crimbo. Enjoy it with your friends and families and whoever, and just stay safe. And we shall see you when we're back on, possibly Tuesday. Take care, guys. Please do the thing, mate.
Oh, Danny, do the.
You do the thing, mate. I come and do the day.
All right, okay, no problem.
Take care, guys.
Good thing I'm here, right?
I know. I've been on all night. See you later.
See you.